Listen, before anything else, I need you to understand one thing clearly. Nothing in this world is random. Nothing you're surrounded by is accidental. The noise in your head, the chaos in your routine, the addictions you laugh at, the social media loops you keep falling into. These things were engineered. Your distractions didn't just appear. They were manufactured, designed, packaged, delivered to you like a slow, sweet poison. And the sad part? Most people drink it willingly. And if you're honest with yourself, you've been drinking it too. Because society doesn't fear a smart man. It doesn't fear a talented man. It fears a focused man. A man who decides what he wants, cuts off the noise, locks his attention like a weapon and becomes unstoppable. That kind of man is dangerous. That kind of man can't be controlled. And that kind of man changes everything around him. But look at your life right now. Look at the world around you. What do you see? People scrolling, people complaining, people comparing, people chasing dopamine highs instead of dreams. You see young men who could have built empires trapped inside digital cages. You see potential buried under entertainment. You see minds that were born to be sharp, now fogged by addiction. And here's the truth. None of this is accidental. Society wants you this way, because a distracted man is easier to manipulate. A distracted man is easier to influence. A distracted man is easier to market to. A distracted man never questions the system. A distracted man never asks why he's stuck. And most importantly, a distracted man never becomes powerful. Society loves that version of you. You want to know why? Because when a man becomes focused, he becomes unpredictable. He stops consuming and starts creating. He stops following the crowd and starts building his own path. He stops being a slave to impulses and becomes a master of intentions. And society has zero control over a man like that. Think about it. Every time in your life when you got deeply focused on something, maybe a project, a goal, a dream, everything improved. Your confidence improved. Your discipline improved. Your choices improved. Your clarity improved. You started seeing what matters and what doesn't. You started ignoring people who weren't on your level. You started taking yourself seriously. That version of you, that's the version society fears, because it knows the moment you become focused, you break free. But society can't let that happen. Not on a large scale. Not when billions of dollars depend on men staying numb, weak, and distracted. So what does society do? It keeps you busy with meaningless noise. It keeps you entertained. It keeps you overstimulated. It keeps you chasing instant pleasure instead of long-term purpose. It gives you endless content, endless drama, endless trends, endless opinions. Anything to keep your mind from going silent long enough to hear your own thoughts. Because real power begins in silence. Real clarity begins in solitude. Real transformation begins when the noise stops. But they can't let you reach that point. So they make sure you never sit with yourself long enough to look in the mirror and ask the real questions. What am I doing with my life? Who am I becoming? What am I wasting? What habits are ruining me? What would happen if I finally focused? These questions terrify society, because a man who asks them starts waking up. And I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this, you're already waking up. Something inside you knows you're capable of more. Something inside you knows you're not living at your highest level. Something inside you knows you are meant to be more than a scrolling machine. You know it. You feel it. And that's exactly why you're here. Psychologically speaking, the human brain wasn't built for this much stimulation. Your subconscious is being pulled by 1,000 little hooks every single day. Notifications, comparisons, opinions, short clips, shallow entertainment, tiny injections of mental noise. Your brain becomes fragmented. Your attention becomes weak, and a weak attention means a weak life. You can't focus deeply. You can't think clearly. You can't move intentionally. Your mind becomes a battlefield where you're losing without even realizing it. Philosophically speaking, society thrives when individuals surrender their inner authority. When you stop thinking deeply, you start accepting whatever you're fed. When you stop questioning, you start absorbing. When you stop focusing, you start drifting. And a drifting person becomes part of the collective. A mass of humans acting the same, thinking the same, consuming the same, buying the same, wasting the same years of their lives. A society of distracted individuals is easy to control because they never develop the strength to control themselves. But here's where Napoleon Hill's wisdom hits hard. You either control your mind or it controls you. And society knows that whoever controls your mind controls your life. So let me ask you, and for real, when was the last time you controlled your mind? When was the last time you decided what you think about? When was the last time you sat down and focused for hours? When was the last time you did something without checking your phone? When was the last time you worked like someone who respects his own future? If you're being honest, it's been a while. But don't feel ashamed. Feel aware, because awareness is the first weapon. Awareness is what separates those who wake up from those who remain asleep their whole life. Now listen closely. Every powerful person in history learned one truth: your ability to focus determines your destiny. Not luck, not talent, not intelligence, focus, because focus directs energy, and energy builds reality. The reason you haven't built the life you want yet? It's not because you're incapable. It's because you're distracted. Your potential is still there. Your ambition is still there. Your dreams are still there. They're just buried under noise. But once you remove the noise, once you stop letting society control your attention, once you reclaim your mind, you become someone society can't handle. Let me expose something deeper. Do you know why you feel depressed sometimes? Why you feel lost? Why you feel behind? Why you feel like your life isn't moving? Because your mind is overstimulated but underfulfilled. You're feeding it constant stimulation, but none of it leads to purpose, achievements, growth, or identity. Your brain is busy but your soul is starving. Society gives you pleasure but steals your power. It gives you comfort but takes your purpose. It gives you entertainment but kills your ambition. It distracts you long enough for your dreams to expire. But listen to me. You don't have to live like this. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to be another victim of distraction culture. Because the moment you decide to reclaim your focus, yes, your entire life shifts. You begin to see through the illusion. You begin to recognize the traps. You begin to take your time seriously. You begin to build habits that strengthen you, not weaken you. You begin to develop discipline, real discipline, the kind Napoleon Hill talks about. And once discipline enters your life, distraction leaves. Once clarity enters your mind, chaos leaves. Once purpose enters your heart, fear leaves. You start becoming the man you were supposed to be. Not the man society shaped, the man you choose. And that man, he becomes powerful. He becomes calm. He becomes intentional. He becomes confident. He becomes respected. He becomes unstoppable. Focused man is dangerous because he can't be bought with cheap dopamine. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't follow trends. He doesn't waste years. He uses his mind like a blade, sharp, precise, controlled. So here's the truth you needed today. Society wants you distracted, but you don't have to stay that way. The world might want a weak version of you, but your future doesn't. Your future wants a disciplined you, a focused you, a powerful you, a version of you that thinks for himself, chooses for himself, and builds for himself. So starting today, choose focus over noise. Choose purpose over pleasure. Choose growth over comfort. Choose the life you want over the distractions society throws at you. Because once you become focused, truly focused, you become everything they fear and everything you were meant to be.